Welcome to the Straight from the Source's Mouth podcast. Frank talk about sex and dating.
Hello, everyone. Tamara here. Welcome to the show. Today's guest is Chris Koss from the SwipeWrong podcast, and he'll share the stuff that works and doesn't work with online dating. And if you like this episode, be sure to tell your friends about it and rate it as well. Thanks for joining me, Chris.
No, thanks for having me. I would love to do the whole radio spiel of a long-time listener, first-time caller, all that stuff. But I've definitely been listening for a while. Big fan of the show. Love the authenticity and just how candid you guys are in your conversations and the topics you guys cover.
Well, thank you very much for the compliments, and happy to have you on for sure. And I will check yours out. I haven't yet because I always like to interview first as like a listener that's never heard you for the first time either. So I like to hear it from you first, and then I will definitely follow and listen after the fact.
Yeah, we'll get you some shock value in there for sure. It's a lot of fun. I can tell you, it started in, I think, just to the people that are listening right now, I think if I go and say 45 I get a cookie. So just be careful of that. If I am doing that, I apologize. See, there it goes. I was out on dates. So how it all originated, I'm single, dating, going out, meeting people. And it all just kind of felt like every time I met somebody, they all felt like they were attracting the crazy. They all felt like they had some sort of crazy, unique thing that happened to them. And each person I sat down next to or sat across from was like, oh my gosh, you won't believe what happened. And even a couple of my friends were like, oh, I went out with this girl and you won't believe what happened. I can't believe. I just feel like it felt like they had a big bullseye on their back, and Robin Hood was slinging arrows at them, and it was just the crazy arrows, and they couldn't get away from it. And I was in broadcasting for years back in the day, and I was like, man, somebody just needs to know that we're all kind of in it together. We're all kind of fighting through this, and there is definitely enough crazy out there to go around for everybody. That's for sure. So I wanted to make sure everybody knew and find a way to get it out there for everyone. So that's kind of the concept of how it started. And maybe I'm jumping ahead. I apologize if you were going to ask something else.
No, I like just having a conversation. So yeah, and I usually ask what got you started. So that's the perfect thing. You knew it without even knowing it.
Yeah, we're simpatico like that. Yeah. And I think the one one time that totally put me over the top, where I'm like, all right, I think I need to talk to someone or get this out there, was I went and sat down, and I was meeting a girl for lunch. And she was just telling me of her story, and hers was she met a guy online, and she was going to go meet him for lunch, and she was meeting him at some restaurant, and she was the second one to arrive, and she was went to go sit down and meet him at the table, and he's sitting there, and next to him is his girlfriend that she had no idea about, and she had no idea what to do. It was just completely dumbfounded, and I was like, man, that sucks. I can't imagine that. Yeah, so just stupid stuff like that. And then as the show's gone on, we put out about 50 different episodes now, and we're on all platforms. And there is some where you're just kind of like, I can't believe that exists, and there's some that just aren't quite as crazy, but more everyday experiences.
Yeah. So because this is educational, and first while I'm thinking about it, there's a book that someone mentioned, totally unrelated to this topic, but I just want to make sure this is the guide to getting it on. Just FYI, for a guy swears by it, and his girlfriend brags to everyone she sees about him when he used this book. So I've been meaning to mention this book for a while. And then we can go back to dating, or we can talk about sex too.
No. So,
totally.
Wait. So let me ask: is that the guide to getting it on? Like, they both swear by it. Is it like both of them, or is it like, hey, this is what I've learned to do to my girlfriend and she loves it, or what they do to each other? Or
I think it's the first, where he learned what to do. He read the book at 31 or something. So, it took him a little longer potentially, but so he's, swears by it, and he mentioned it. So I've been meaning to mention it, like I said.
Okay.
So
yeah,
we can incorporate sex into this talk too, or just keep with the dating. But the swipe wrong, obviously because you've heard so many stories, are there some that stand out? Is there a common theme of definitely what not to do? What have you seen with that?
So let me comment about what your book, guys, I would say, if there's an Audible version of it, that would be amazing, because, the attention span's a little different.
Yeah.
A lot of guys feel like they just need they won't say it, but they need a yellow brick road to the pleasure spots. It seems like half the time they may think they know what they're doing, but if they can get a yellow brick road and something at the end of that, and if that book's the guide, that sounds like all right, I'm going to go on Amazon when I'm done here.
Yeah.
Stories that stick out. Yeah, there's definitely one story that sticks out. It's episode 1 or episode 3, season 1. We call it Gone Catfishing, and where a guy goes out to meet a girl on a date, and his move was he lived in an apartment across the street, so he'd go out, meet him at this bar across the street, and then hopefully end up back at his house. Well, he went out to the bar. And when he did, and they're supposed to meet, let's say at 6, and I'll just make it a little bit shorter, and you guys can listen to the show online. But the girl doesn't show up. She keeps delaying. They're talking through Tinder. Eventually, they start texting, and he's like, "Look, I don't think you're going to make it. I think you're standing me up," and got a little upset. And she texts back and said, "No, I promise, I'm on my way." And then he goes out to his car to leave finally because he's fed up with it. And she says, "Hey, I'm inside. Where are you at?" And he goes back in, and there's really just 3 guys sitting at the bar, and he gets really upset. And this was a couple years ago. This was when Tinder was first out. And he's like, "No, you're not there. This is BS." And as he's walking out to his car again, his phone starts blowing up. It says, "Hey, can we meet behind the store for a blowjob? Can we do this?" Just all these solicitations for a blowjob came up, and he started Googling his phone number, and this person put his number on Backpage and said, "Hey, for a good time, contact this person." And he must have had 30 text messages. And he's like, "What the hell do I even do? How do I get out of this? What the hell is going on?" And eventually it died down. Well, about a year and a half later, him and his buddy go out to a bar, and it's when vape first started, and people were vaping, and he sees this guy at the bar with this, looked like a dragon with the vape that he was sending out. And he's like, "I need to get to know that guy, and I need to be best friends." So they start talking, and they actually hang out, exchange phone numbers. And the next day he gets a friend request from this guy. And he's like, "This is kind of weird because my friend, or the guy who was on the show, uses his first name and middle name on Facebook, so he's kind of hard to find." And then, it's like, "Whatever, I'll accept the friend request." Well, he downloads Snapchat probably about a month or 2 later. And Snapchat, when it first came out and still does, it combines all of your contacts, like your phone contacts, your Facebook contacts, and all this stuff. And it took the phone number from this girl and matched it up with a picture of this guy, and it was the same person. So it ended up being this guy catfishing him for a good time and all that. So that's the one that kind of makes me go, damn, because it actually spans over a couple years' time and just coincidentally happened to find out about it. So that one, he tells the story better than I do. I might as well start out with Once Upon a Time, and they did not live happily ever after. Yeah. But
it almost makes me wonder if the guy was stalking him or something, or just
Yeah, I mean, it's weird how, it's a small town, but it's still kind of weird how it all shakes out. And then they end up finding that this guy was just ended up passing away, was a lonely older guy who was just looking for companionship. And this is kind of the way he felt like he needed to meet people, which in turn kind of makes it a little bit of a sad story. But it's just crazy how some of this stuff kind of works through.
Yeah.
But to what you were saying earlier, just some of the things, I think the do's and don'ts, and just from listening to people and hearing some of the things that they do, women definitely have it much tougher than guys do. They have to protect themselves so much more. When you mix male ego, anonymity, and keyboard courage, it's lights out sometimes for some guys. They just don't have nearly the respect maybe that they should, or talk maybe the way they should. So things that I've learned that I recommend that especially women do: background checks. You're going to find out a little bit more information about women. There's plenty of free sites out there that do it. Even Credit Karma does a background check. And granted, background checks aren't exactly going to tell you, hey, this person is batshit crazy. They're not. Unfortunately, they haven't got to that degree yet. But it does give you a little bit more information on just who you're talking to. Like maybe they're still married and you don't know. So that will at least tell you that on a background check. Yeah. One thing that I wasn't so my journey from dating has gone a little bit different. Like when I first started dating, there was a couple of women who wanted to talk on the phone, and I didn't quite understand that. And all right, whatever, that sounds good. But boy, what I've learned over time now, that's definitely something you want to do. Definitely FaceTime. Most of the apps, actually, you can do a video chat for a couple of reasons. One, you want to see that the person that you're talking to is the same person in the picture. Two, just from like a dynamic standpoint, like when you're texting, it's kind of bizarre how, or talking through the app, it's kind of bizarre. Like you can see that this person is pretty witty, but they also have time to formulate a response. So their witty may not be like that. So you want to make sure that, one, it's the person that you've seen in the pictures, and two, that it's somebody that you really do have a good rapport with, and somebody like has the worst thing. Well, one of the worst things, if you're sitting across the table from somebody and you can't have a conversation with anymore because they have the personality of just somebody who doesn't really even exist. So, and it protects yourself.
Yeah. I do have one comment about that though, because I like a phone conversation. Like I've learned that can work. But to me, it almost feels like when guys ask for a video chat, it's like, I take it as like, oh, they want to see if you're actually cute enough or something. I don't know. I take it personally. So to me, when guys offer it, I was like, you've already seen my pictures. Like I don't have filters. Like my pictures are, more recent. So to me, it's like you get what you see. But I guess it hasn't always been that case, especially for guys with the catfishing. I would assume happens more for guys because there's so many, like, I don't know, they think there's a lot of fake profiles out there for the guys with women. So I can see why I do both, but I don't know. I've always been a little skeptical of that. So now maybe I'll be a little nicer about it.
No, that's fair. I mean, as long as there's a phone conversation and you have the rapport, I mean, I guess it truly is preference. If you're more comfortable with a regular phone conversation than a video conversation, then absolutely. I mean, from the guy's perspective, he may or may not just want to see something without filters, but truthfully, like it's probably not going to matter terribly much as long as there's a good rapport and they're somewhat close to the pictures, because the filters, that's the big thing the guys got to work for, but that's nothing compared to what the women have to fight through. That's for sure. Yeah. Having just a support group, just friends that you talk to that like you can screenshot the conversation that you're having with a guy or the girl and say, hey, are you seeing the same thing that I'm seeing? If you go out on a date with somebody, hey, I'm going to this location, and then if you don't hear from me, cool, and then excuse yourself to go to the restroom and then text your friends that you're either okay or that you need that Hail Mary to get you the heck out of there, something along those lines.
And I have male listeners too, like younger male listeners. So if you have any advice for that side of it as a guy.
Yeah, no, of course. For the guys, it is the same. Like I would say, if you can get a video chat, by all means, just to make sure that what you are seeing doesn't have to be as far as looks wise, what you're, but the person that you're talking to, that it's not some guy in some cave in Russia just trying to catfish you. Talk to your friends, do the same thing, talk to your friends, have the support group, tell your friends you're going to a date at the bar and that you'll be back in a little bit. There's some interesting things that women do, and same thing, like everybody, there isn't a person I don't think that should not do a background check, male, female, always do some form of background check just so you have the information and things just kind of vibe and match up, that this person's address is actually somewhere where you're supposed to meet them, and not like if you're meeting them in Wichita, they don't have a California address and they're just not out here on vacation. And guys don't carry a lot of cash on you, just in case something happens. If you take somebody back to your house, just be like, I mean, first dates, I'd never say pick somebody up at their house or bring it back to your house. You just never know what you're going to get.
Yeah. And in your experience, or from what people have told you, I've heard that, and we talked about this in prior episodes, that like 20% of the guys get all the matches and like 80% get none or very few. And is that your experience from what guys have told you about in your podcast? Or?
Yeah, there's a ridiculous stat out there that Tinder has that 10% of women get 10% of the matches they swipe on, and guys get 0.6% of the matches that they swipe on. So yeah, guys, like I think it was one of your bonus episodes I was listening to, and or one of your late last season episodes. I think somebody was mentioning, do guys even read the profiles? And I was kind of chuckling because guys, they do read the profiles, but they read them a little bit later on. Yeah. So there is something out there that some guys will do. I'm not saying all guys will do, but they'll do something called power swiping, to where they'll just pop on the app and they'll just swipe right on everything that comes up. It does two things. One, hopefully it creates a match for them. But the more they're on the app, it puts them in the algorithm and puts their face in front of people a little bit more. So the more they're on, the more possibilities of match they have. Now, when they match up, that's when they might read the profile. Yeah. That's when like, oh, okay, cool. Because you can always unmatch at a later date, but they're not necessarily taking the time to say, oh, and this girl's like long, like walks on the beach, likes to be held hand, likes to be kissed on the neck, all that stuff. But later on, they're going, okay, maybe she likes those things.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think I was in that episode, or one of them talked about that too. Like, just, it sucks. Women don't like it, but it is the truth. Like, just accept it. You can get mad about it, or you can just understand that they're going to read it eventually after you match and you're starting to go out, but they might not read it initially, and you don't have to like take such offense and get so mad about it. But yeah. Yeah.
And I don't mean to sound like this all doom and gloom. Like, there is really so many great instances of, like, the hardest thing for a lot of people is when they're coming out of a long relationship, when they're going through a divorce, and let's say they've been married for 10 years, male or female, the first thing, your confidence is shot. You're not sure if you quote unquote have it anymore, whether it be just rapport with somebody, or if you're good in bed anymore, or anything like that. So we have an episode coming up this coming season where this woman chronicles this, her experience where she felt like her confidence grew immensely just from the interactions with people. And some people were awesome and just not a match, and some people were batshit crazy and just not a match. But the feeling of being wanted by people, it just grew her confidence exponentially. So, like, even though like dating's changed, like, not many people are going to hit you with their shopping cart in the grocery store, and then all of a sudden, you're playing serendipity and happily ever after. It just doesn't happen quite that much anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoy talking to people in public. I have a pretty big personality, and a lot of times I'll just say hi to people, and they're like, "Bro, what the fuck do you want?" Like, I'm just saying hi. I promise. I'm not. And they're like, "All right, stalker, leave me alone." I'm like, shit, that didn't go well.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
damn.
And I just recorded an episode about this a couple days ago, where we talk about do the in-person thing, because as guys, especially if you get so few matches, like, that may be the only way you meet people. Get off your phone and say hi. Like, you don't have to be, the creepy meter. You can make sure, like you said, just say hi. Maybe even wait to see if they've smiled first, or smile and see if they smile back, or, try to read the room and try to see if there's interest. But I mean, if you don't get a lot of matches, like, that's probably how you're going to have to do it. And if people would just get out there more and start doing that, that used to be how it worked back in the day. Like, people didn't realize.
Yeah, once upon a time.
That's just how it
buy you a drink, and now they're worried they're getting roofied. Yeah. I think I started kind of, we talk about that too. We call it dating in the wild now, when you try to meet somebody in person. And I think the most successful conversation starter that I've had has been the grocery store, where I accidentally throw something in the wrong shopping cart. So if people want something that might work for them, I think that's, oh shoot, I'm sorry, I thought that was, how you doing? And it's like, and then I don't know, the guard's down a little bit, but like the bar, like you hear a lot of stories about anybody with just stuff being in public. So just definitely, just be kind. That's the thing I think they get lost.
And even if
the questions that go on.
No, I was just saying, even if it's like kind of awkward for you, or you're shy, like, just say that. Like, I don't usually do this. I'm really shy, but I think you're cute. Whatever, just say something to put it out on awkward. What are you gonna say?
I heard once, like, the best thing you can do when you are nervous about something is just say, "Hey, I'm nervous about this," and then you've kind of professed your fear, and then everybody's on the same page. "Hey, look, you're really beautiful, and I'm so nervous talking to you." And then, like, it's either become sweet, or it's and it's also a conversation starter, because there isn't. I mean, it seems like more people have more issues talking to each other in public than they do anything. Socially awkward, anxiety, and things like that pop up. But kindness just trumps everything. Yeah. So if you just can stay with the kindness, you're okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of some other things. So just as people are out on dates, the women or men thing to protect yourself with is obviously keep an eye on your drink. There's some things out there that dating that just people don't want to get anything put in them. So just all the normal stuff that you had to do when you were regular dating, now that you're out with somebody, you want to do as you're still doing the swipe right or swipe left, swipe wrong dating as well. So it's all the same stuff. Protect yourself more than anything, but just be like, I think also the best way to look at it is experiences over expectations. If you can look at it as, hey, this is going to be a great new experience, we'll see what happens, as opposed to this is the one, we've had great chemistry, we'll see what happens, but go through the experience and then maybe it'll lead to something from then on.
Yeah. And if you enjoy the moment, you're more likely to go out again, which would then in turn potentially be long-term. But if you worry about it and stress about it and think about it the whole time in your head about, are they the one, and assessing their worth the whole time.
Exactly. And there's definitely stories and it feels like there's levels. As people go through things, the first level of it is, do we have good communication online? All right. The second level is not like you're leveling up, but I have to go through these different levels to see if things work out. Do we have good communication while we're face to face? Are we sexually compatible? Is the sex good? Then after that, it's all right, down the line, if somebody's angry, is the communication style still the same? Is this person a yeller and is this person a talker? You got to feel so you go through all the same cycles of trying to figure out if it's a match, and it's not necessarily blamed on, I met this person online. It's it's still the organic growth that you have between each other.
Yeah. I've just binge watched the Love is Blind season 3. I was overseas out of town, so I didn't catch up on a lot of it, but it's the steps you mentioned. First you figure out, are you compatible, and have a lot of stuff to talk about. And then the next step is they see each other, and then they start being in the wild together, living together, trying to figure out that part of it, which a lot of times goes south for them in the episodes. But yeah, like you said, there's steps to it to figure out. And so since you mentioned sexual compatibility, and this is a sex and dating, a lot of women get offended when they start talking about sex or too early. And to me, it's a compatibility thing. You talk about it, you say, oh, I like it. Do you like it? And you're okay. That's just one of the things you check off that you're compatible or not. But so many women get offended when the guys bring it up. And maybe they bring it up too soon, or how they bring it up. I don't know. I do not like unsolicited dick pics either. None of us do. But, just bringing it up is, in my mind, is more of a compatibility thing. Have you had that conversation in your...
Yeah. Yeah, so we've talked, and you're like you're saying, it ranges from person to person, and actually the unsolicited dick pics, I think, is the first subject I always wanted to tackle, because from a guy's perspective, one, I've never ever in my life known a woman who said, God, I really am thinking about sleeping with this guy. This guy seems like he's really great. Oh, a dick pic, that put me over the top. I really want to be with this. I've never heard that ever in my life, so I don't understand. I would love to get the guy who sends the thing, say, bro, why would you do that? What's the shock value? So I don't necessarily. So I think there's two things, two appropriate responses that work when a woman gets a dick pic. One, send it to all your friends so you all can either rate it or laugh at it, because that is now your picture. They sent that out to you. You definitely say, hey, look what I got today. Oh my gosh. And then I think how women respond or in general is interesting, because you can either do one of two things. You can respond with, you dumb motherfucker, what did you do? I can't believe you did that. Or you can say, oh my God, I'm calling the police. I can't believe you have child pornography on your phone. Why would you send me a picture of a child's penis? And then they'll immediately be like, my ego is done. I'm out of here. I'm sorry. So it just, your reaction is to expand on that. The sexual compatibility piece, when people bring that up, that was one thing I was going to mention too. Guys are very quick to ask if a woman is sexual. It seems like more often than not. And that, I don't know of too many women that have said, no, I'm not. The only ones, and you're much more the expert in this than I am, that's for sure. But the only people that I am are not are people who are in a long marriage and are bored as hell with each other, or some people who have some sort of health ailment, and it just may not do anything. Other than that, I don't know of anybody who's been like, oh, great sex, that's not for me. That's really not. I mean, they put that over there with the Oreos, and we're not going to mess with those today. So it just seems like it's a shitty way to open up a conversation about sex. But again, you're more the expert. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more of how you bring it up. And one guy joked, we were talking about meeting up for a while, and we finally were I was like, hey, actually, my plans got canceled. Maybe we can meet up tonight. So he sent me his address, and then he wrote, just kidding. I was like, yeah. I'm like, I meant in public, in person, later, whatever. And then he's like, yeah, I was just joking. He's like, not that that's a bad thing. I'm like, yeah, I agree. At some point, that'll be cool. But right now.
Yeah.
And it was just I took it as a joke that it was. And maybe, and some guys have said oh, maybe he didn't really mean it as a joke. And if he would have said yes, he would have been all about it. But I met him after the fact. We dated for several months, and that was not how it was. It was definitely just a joke, and he was very attractive.
Yeah.
And, I just took it as a joke.
And I think that's more the exception than the rule.
I think so too,
the comments like that are like, hey, let me put it, oh, I was just kidding. But if you said yes, that would be okay. So it's just fishing. It's just a different way of fishing to see if there's any type of response. And then it always seems like there's a couple of just innuendos that can be taken either way. And then let's just see if the banter goes there. That seems like it happens, but more than not, it's the hey, let me get your phone number, and then I'm going to blast you with a dick pic, or let me, common question seems like, are you a sub or dom? Gets asked way too often, and that's right. Like, hey, like question number 5, it should be like question number 455, maybe. Yeah. So, and then I think the sexual component of it is when people come out of relationships. I mean, that's what ends up happening. And like, how do I date? Okay, I'll go on the apps. I think the hardest thing for a lot of people is giving themselves permission to go out and live whatever life that they want to live. There is nothing wrong with going out and having a shit ton of sex. I mean, it releases endorphins. It's a great time. People are enjoying the fun. I mean, for some women, it may be the best 35 seconds of their life. I don't know, and then some may go all night long. Who knows? But it's okay to do that. Don't like that. Go live, male or female. If you want to go out and live, quote unquote, your hoe phase, go do it. I mean, it's all the quest for happiness, and this is everybody's journey.
Yeah, and I do know one woman. She has two accounts, like one for sex and one for looking for a boyfriend, and so she acts differently on both. And she's looking for just sex on one, obviously. And there's like the same guy that mentioned the getting it. What did I call it? Getting it on guide. He also said that he called it Tindering around. He's like, I was Tindering around, before he met his girlfriend. And so, there's nothing wrong, male or female. And I do have to say,
it's a college years.
Yeah. And it can be like you said, post relationship. This might not be college anymore, but like, that's like the time that you want to do it. And I, obviously, as someone who has this kind of podcast and does this kind of thing, like I see nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
And I do have to, and I've gotten feedback from a woman. She's like, I'm so glad I listened to your podcast. I was like hesitant to go hook up with this guy. And then I listened to it and I'm like, I'm going to do it. Like, so I'm happy that kind of stuff has happened from listening, because there shouldn't be any shame or guilt about it. We're all sexual beings.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said in the beginning, one of the things I really dig about your show is the candid conversations, whether it's, about sex or pegging or whatever it is. Like there is like, I don't know. I mean, we talked a little bit before, just the journey that people have, like the pursuit of happiness is different for everybody. So go out and do there is no such thing, male or female, as a hoe or a slut. There's just somebody who is finding some sort of sexual freedom and then figuring out what works for them. And in the same token, what doesn't work for them either. Like, oh, shit, anal wasn't for me. Okay, so, we'll just go to sex in public. You just don't know. Go out and have fun. Yeah. Just don't get arrested.
Yeah, that's ideal. unless you're into that too, but
handcuffs could be fun. You never know. It's all a thing.
But there is no set way to live life. Like just do what works for you and with your partner. And then each partner might be different. Like if you are one way with one partner, and then the next person introduces you to something new, then that could be your new thing. And then you bring that into the next relationship, so everyone's learning from everyone. And on that note, because we talk about alternative lifestyle stuff quite a bit in my podcast, people discover that newly too. Like I have a friend that, they've been married 10, 11 years and now they're just started doing the swinging, opening up their relationship thing, so that's even
healthier
too.
How's that working?
Yeah. I mean, they absolutely they're all in, they love it.
No kidding. Yeah. That's awesome.
So, I mean, awesome. And it's not for everyone, it's better than cheating and just doing it behind people's back, and even people are afraid to even, if once you bring that up, you could find out like for 5 years, they've been thinking the same thing, and then you finally talk about it. You're like, oh damn, we could have been doing this all along.
And if you think about like relationships, even now, like since everyone is on the apps, like everybody's got a roster, everyone's got a starting lineup, a bench squad. They got people in minor leagues and stuff like that. So sometimes people just aren't as quick. Like if there is a problem that comes up, they're quicker to move on to the next person and be like, all right, I have all these people to get through. So like relationships just in general, who knows, they could even be changing where, man and wife doesn't exist. They could be like, I'm with like 3 or 4 different people for 3 or 4 different reasons. And that's almost like taking, into a swingers role. Like you definitely have somebody you connect with, but you also may, love other people for different reasons. So
yeah, for sure.
Or maybe I'm batshit crazy.
No,
I don't know.
I totally agree. I think that's totally true. I could easily love more than one person, and like you said, different outings for different people, different situations for different people. And so, yeah, I think that's,
I know it's your show, but let me ask you a question. So like, I usually tell people, like, if you are going to, like, initially the first time you have sex with someone might always be the worst because you're fumbling around. You don't know each other's chemistry. I usually say give it like 2 or 3 times before you give up on it. Am I crazy in that?
Yeah. No, you're not crazy.
Okay.
I'm agreeing.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I meant to say I'm agreeing with you.
I'll own it. Okay.
I've had good experiences on the first time, so I will say that.
Right.
But yeah, like, I mean, one time, like, we were drinking too much, or he was drinking too much, so it was like not that great, whatever. And then and he was even kind of like, I don't know, just off. And then we ended up, he was like one of my, like, one that got away kind of guys. So yeah, you can definitely, and I think I've said that before, where we had potential, like it wasn't quite up to speed, but yeah, you don't know each other yet. And you learn more every time you do it. And like you said, the guys want the yellow brick road. They want feedback. They want to know, like, what works for you. And so few women are able to say, or at least verbalize, either know it or verbalize what they want. And it's kind of like, either they feel ashamed if they would be like, do this and this and this, and they think the guy might be put off. But guys, you can confirm or deny, but guys want to know what you like, so they want to please you.
Yeah, they do. They will like, the hardest part a guy has is putting their ego away and being like, wait a second, I don't know everything about everything. The moment they do that, the better everybody is. Everybody involved is, because everybody grows from that. Yeah.
And even if it worked for one person, you could just say like, oh, this used to work. Like, oh, I guess, is this not working? Or what would you like better or different? Or, we have a lot of conversations about this, communication, but I know it's not easy for a lot of people.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, I guess, to go back on the dating and whatever, so just do everything you can to protect yourself. Just in general, male, female, just protect yourself. You're not sure, what type of great experience you're about to have, or what type of crazy you might run into. I mean, but I would like the number one thing is definitely experiences over expectations. Like if you can just enjoy the experience out of it, you're going to go a lot farther and not be as frustrated. Like, so many people hate this dating experience and think so badly of it. But truth is, like, I look at how I interact on it now versus how I did when I first got on the apps, and it's entirely different. And the stories are still out there, but it's still like we're all kind of in it together. So if we can look out for each other, that's the best thing we can do.
Yeah, definitely. And since that was kind of the conclusion for the episode, I'm assuming for you, do you want to share again? I know you talked about your podcast itself, but anything else you want to share about how to get a hold of you, or just the podcast? Or?
Oh, yeah. You can email us at swipewrongpod@gmail.com. Give us a call at 317-426-6616. Truth is, I want everybody's story. Like I said, we're all in it together. So some stories are greater than others, but everybody's got a story and everybody can learn something from each other. We're on every platform, Swipe Wrong Podcast. So take a listen. And like I said, I'm just happy to talk to anybody and see what's going on. There's some crazy and awesome shit out there. I mean, we have one girl on her first date where a guy put his laundry in her car and asked her to do his laundry. She's going, what the fuck? That's not exactly roses. That's a different way to go.
Wow. Yeah, definitely interesting tact.
Right.
Yeah. Right. All right. Well, but unless you had more to say.
No, thank you. I just want to say thank you. You're amazing. You're doing an awesome job. Keep doing what you're doing. You're helping so many people out.
All right. Well, I was going to thank you, but yes, thank you for the compliment and thank you for being on. I definitely enjoyed it, and we will continue our conversation after we stop recording. But I like to keep the episodes around 30 minutes because I know people's attention spans are getting lower and lower these days. But
mine for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much. And I hope you get a lot out of it. Those of you who listened, and if you loved it, definitely rate it and, subscribe, follow, all the stuff. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Frank Talk, sex and dating educates.